Breaking tonight, new fallout from a statement by the Washington Post that has generated some controversy. Famed journalist Bob Woodward revealing this week that his paper, under the leadership of new owner Jeff Bezos, plans to seriously increase its coverage of Donald Trump from here on out.
At the Washington Post, we had 20 people working on Trump. We're going to do a book and we're doing articles about every phase of his life.
Chris Direwall is our Fox News digital politics editor. Ben Shapiro is editor-in-chief at dailywire.com. And Dana Lash is host of Dana on the Blaze TV. Good to see you all. So the Post basically came out tonight and said, look, you know, Jeff Bezos doesn't give us our editorial direction. We run our paper, and we're going to cover both of these candidates aggressively. That's what we get paid to do. Direwall, do they have a point?
Well, yeah, they have a point. And certainly they have a point that the Washington Post has been stepping it up, been very aggressive coverage, both sides, and also once the primaries end, yada, yada, yada. However, we also know that thing that happens where after the Republican gets out of the nominating process, they come out with giant machetes with the hacking, and Mitt Romney cut a guy's hair, and it was da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. So this certainly if you're enough of a conspiracy theorist to believe that there was a plan or there was an intention to wait until the general election to start really unloading the stuff on Donald Trump in the establishment press, well, this would certainly go to that point.
What do you think, Ben? Ben, you look like you're at a lineup. I don't know where we have you tonight.
Yeah. I mean, well, listen, this is where Donald Trump is going to put me after this election if he wins the presidency.
Okay,
so I'm
that's
just preparing.
Better. I see like a flower pot behind you. What do you think? I mean, do you think this is a case of the media holding back? Because we have been told by a lot of folks during the Republican primary, that the media, as soon as Trump gets it, if he gets it, they're going to unleash hell on him.
I mean, I do think that the media has been holding back, but I think this is a reality TV show that's far beyond what they can control at this point. I mean, today's Ryan-Trump meeting was basically The Bachelor with Reince Priebus playing Chris Harrison, and the only question was whether Ryan was going to give Trump a rose or whether he was going to offer him a night in the fantasy suite. I mean, this whole thing is so far beyond the realm of natural politics that I'm not sure the media can control it. I mean, what do they hit him with at this point? He's done everything publicly. He's been in every scandal imaginable. Unless you catch him with a horse or something, I'm not sure exactly what damages him.
Okay.
I want out.
Ow. Ow. Dana, what say you? Because if the past elections are any guide, none of these mainstream news outlets is going to go too tough on Hillary Clinton. Oh, and Steyerwalt is out. He wants out and he's gone.
He left. It was too much for him. I was pleased to see, I guess good for them that they're making enough money where they can hire 20 people to cover one candidate, Megan. I guess that's good for them. I guess the news business is going well. But here's the thing. When did they ever do this for a Democrat? When did they ever do this for Barack Obama? And are they going to do the same thing for Hillary Clinton? Are they going to hire 20 people for the Hillary beat? Are they going to go through all of her emails? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the question. But the other question is, as you pointed out, Chris, is what does it matter? I mean, he has been the Teflon Don. It's not like nothing controversial about Donald Trump happened in the past 10 months.
Right.
The Republicans, at least, or at least, some huge number of Republicans don't care.
Well, and not only that, the truth has been, and I think Ben made a very good point, not about the fantasy suite, but about the part where today this was covered like the papal visit to Washington, D.C. It was pen-to-post coverage, a lot of it very breathless, and for the political press corps standing outside, is he here, is he there, what did he say, on and on and on.
The countdown on MSNBC, they had a countdown clock. Look, CNN with the shot of Trump's plane. Wolf Blitzer was walking us through the plane's progress on the tarmac.
I was shocked they didn't have a hologram. I was waiting for the Trump hologram. That's the next thing that comes, right?
You would have thought it was the second coming. Go ahead, finish your point, Chris.
Just that if Hillary Clinton thinks that she can break through this news cycle with a Snapchat video, it's not going to happen. She's got to figure out some way, because if he can own the media space in the way that he did in the primary, she's hosed. She's got to find a way to break this.
Ben, one of my favorite things tonight was an MSNBC banner that read, "Breaking news: Trump gives thumbs up heading into meeting."
What in the hell is going on here? I mean, they're treating him with the plane on the tarmac. They're treating him like he's some sort of J.D. Salinger-esque recluse, and you can't find him anywhere. He's so difficult to find. We just have to keep the cameras on him at all times, lest Donald Trump escape from our eyes. I mean, you have a guy who's blowing on a ram's horn. It's not even Jewish holiday or something. He's blowing on a ram's horn and singing odes to Trump outside the Ryan meeting,
right.
And the media are covering this like it's news. I mean, it's unreal.
A bagpiper there, which was reported on. The bagpiper there. Look, this is reported on. Look, with Rosh Hashanah months away, with Trump inside the RNC, this dude is taking the blowing the. Okay, so you can see that the issues here. And here's the bagpiper. I do want to say it wasn't just the other networks. We also had an 8-box up at some point. And in MSNBC's defense, well, there was a day here at Fox News when I was a cub reporter in the D.C. bureau when I saw the following: Fox News alert. The White House Christmas tree has arrived at the White House.
Yeah.
So, none of us has perfectly clean hands. Great to see you all.
Thanks, baby.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Also tonight, Senator Harry Reid and editor-in-chief of thedailywire.com. Ben, great to see you. Here we go again.
You too.
What is it
exactly.
they
I mean,
say is
it's
so
pretty basic.
objectionable about you?
Well, what I love the most about this situation is that they don't even say that what I'm saying is so terrible. Instead, what they say is that because I've been met with violence at other campuses, this raises security concerns. So in other words, they can't keep their own students from assaulting people, so therefore they can't bring in speakers who disagree with the students. So basically we now have the rioters' veto.
It doesn't make any sense
Right,
whatsoever.
if they get violent,
but
they
what
have to
is it
protect the students
specifically
from
about
the
you?
students.
Because in the guy's letter, this is the, let's see. He is the student, the guy, okay, Bob Janis. He's the vice president of facilities operation who sent out this email. He doesn't make clear what it is that you say that's objectionable, but he seems to be trying to be getting covered by saying, if you want Dinesh D'Souza or Dana Lash, you can have them, but Shapiro,
I have no idea. I mean, honest to God, Dinesh D'Souza was dangerous enough the Obama administration jailed him, so I have a feeling that it has nothing to do with my views.
He made
they had a
illegal
Palestinian
campaign
terrorist, convicted terrorist, a couple of years ago, right? They actually had a woman named Razmia Oda speak on campus a couple of years ago. She's actually a convicted terrorist. So I think it has very little to do with what I'm saying, and much more to do with the idea that these administrators are so gun-shy of controversy that they don't want to tell their own students to, I mean, what they really should tell the students is, guys, you seem a little bit excitable. Hand out some free pot. Everybody will just come down a little bit, and then everything will be all right. But I guess they're unwilling to do that.
But that's the thing, is if you think the students are going to get unruly because they don't like what a speaker is saying, then you might need to hire a little extra security. Do you stand for free speech, or don't you? And this is how it's been eroded at the edges, and it's getting a little closer to the middle now, Ben. It's not even just at the edges these days.
Yeah, and what my biggest problem is that what they're really doing is they're equating words with violence. So they're saying that the students get violence, therefore my words must be the driving factor in them getting violent. If this is how things are going to be from now on, free speech doesn't exist, because it really creates an incentive for people to get violent at protests and get violent when speakers come, to make sure that people, like the people they disagree with, don't get to show up on campus anymore.
Free speech, the First Amendment is there to protect controversial speech. It's not there to protect speech everybody agrees upon and finds very flowery and lovely and rainbows and unicorns-y. It's there to protect speech that may upset you, may be somewhat incendiary, because that's the speech that needs protecting. That's actually, DePaul, what we happen to stand for as a country. Okay, Ben, great to see you.
You too.
Every time they can't.
I'm offended by the language of uprising applied to people who are breaking into other black people's stores and looting them. This is a lack of values, and people who are destroying private property, destroying cop cars, in an uprising against what exactly? Against the black police chief, against a mostly minority police force, against the black mayor, against the black president, against the black attorney general. The idea that we're supposed to correlate your level of outrage with a certain level of justification, in other words, the more outraged you are and the more angry you are, the more justified you must be, is absolute nonsense.
How can you argue that racism is not a driving factor in income inequality?
Because it has nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture. And when you have a culture that doesn't, you know what? Explain to me. You explain to me why black kids aren't graduating high school. Explain that one to me. Explain to me why black kids are shooting each other in rates significantly higher than whites are shooting each other. Explain to me why 13% of the population is responsible for 50% of the murder. Explain to me why the number of black kids in prison, not for innocent reasons, not for walking down the street and getting pulled into a prison, is so high. Explain, if it has nothing to do with culture, explain to me why the single motherhood rate in the black community jumped from 20% to 70%
in the same course of time that the civil rights movement has made such tremendous strides? Is America more racist now than it was in 1960? And if it is, please explain to me how that happened.
Anybody can jump in. It's an open mic there.
But there has to be racism. You can't say there's no racism.
Without evidence?
No. I'm just saying that I don't know which animal. Maybe we're talking about dogs or something. I'm talking about human beings, and I'm like, human beings are most likely going to have racial prejudices. I'm just so sorry. I'm just so sorry. I don't know. I don't come. I come from planet Earth.
Charles, I want to ask you a question. So your default is that when there is no evidence, racism is the deciding factor. That is
no. I was not saying that. I'm just saying that you're going to have sexists, you're going to have racists, you're going to have all this stuff. I mean, I'm just saying that.
I agree it exists, but the problem that I'm seeing, and this is the problem with the general conversation, is that there's no solution in simply saying there's racism out there. How does that solve anything? I mean, when you talk about there's institutional racism, what does that mean? Show me a law that is racist in intent, and we will agree. Show me a police officer who commits a racist act like we saw in South Carolina, right, where a police officer shot a black man running away and it was obviously unjustified, and I will agree. But you need, the idea that you can craft a narrative based on no racism because it just must be somewhere out there in the ether, that doesn't solve problems for anybody and creates more problems for people because now they grow up in a milieu and an environment where they are told that every obstacle they face is from some shadowy, nameless, faceless group who's out to get them simply because of the color of their skin. They'll never succeed in that environment. On the Black Lives Matter idea, I want to find the people. I want to find the people alongside you who think Black lives don't matter. I'm still looking for those people. Really, I mean, like the implication is, of course, that for a bunch of people out there, for some reason, they're fine with black people getting shot in the street for no reason. Hands up, don't shoot was based on a lie. That's problematic. The idea that there is a huge number of black young men who are being shot for no reason by police officers is not statistically true. It's just not statistically true. The fact is that according to statistical studies at John Jay College, if you are a white man in a similar confrontation with police, you have a better chance of being shot by police than if you are a young black man. More white men are shot by the police every year in the country than young black men are shot by police in the country. The idea that there is a spate, and there's an easy proof. We know all of their names. We know all of their names. When there are 30 million black men in America. Okay, when we know President Obama said that we have a spate, it's a slow rolling crisis. Once every couple of weeks we have a case that's under dispute. So let's take his statistic. Okay, so let's say it's 26. No, one is too many, and we all agree. But is it really a slow rolling crisis with a broad trend across the nation when there are 30 million black people in the entire country? And 26 people are shot under disputed circumstances, and probably at least half of those, the cop is at least justified. In Michael Brown, he was justified. Okay, and so basing it on falsities, you can't base a narrative on lies.
You spoke a bit about the the boost and the negation of the SAT scores that black applicants may receive with comparison to Asian people or in comparison to white people.
I spoke about the Princeton study, correct.
And you also spoke about how there is not an equality of outcome in this nation. So with regard to this...
No, there is inequality of outcome.
Yeah.
There's no inequality of opportunity, yes.
Yes.
In the sense that there's no government obstacles. They're inequality, just to clarify before you finish the question, I promise, I'll let you finish. When I say there's no inequalities of opportunity, I obviously don't mean that we are all equally situated. I will never be an NBA basketball player. It's never going to happen. Although I could probably make the Lakers roster, they're that bad, but go ahead.
Given that you contend that there is an equality of opportunity in this nation, do you think it is right for the government to pursue, or like for federal cases to say that in some cases policies like affirmative action targeting certain ethnic groups are correct, and doing this, does it acknowledge white privilege, or do we should just leave this sort of policies totally out even though there is inequality of outcome?
No, so my answer about affirmative action and government policies that are meant to rectify these inequalities of outcome, no, I'm very much opposed to those. If you have two people who have equal SAT scores, and one of them happens to have had a bad childhood with obstacles to overcome, and one happens to have grown up in a very rich household, then that's an actual factor that has to be taken into account. But if somebody gets an SAT score that's 200 points below somebody else, and the only differentiating factor The only differentiating factor is their race. That's racism. I mean, I remember a few years back, there was a story in the Wall Street Journal about an Asian kid who got like a 1510 on his SATs when it was out of 1600, and he grew up extremely poor, single mother, it was a rough neighborhood, so he had to study in his closet for fear of gunshots and all this stuff, and he applied to Yale, didn't get in, and he didn't get in because he was Asian. If he'd been black, he would have gotten in. I mean, that sort of stuff is just racism pure and simple. I don't understand why Colin Powell's kid is not worse off than that Asian kid was. And we're all differently situated, so let's look at each other as individuals. There's some black people who have it really bad in this country. There's some black people who have it really great in this country. There are a lot of white people who have it really bad in this country. There are more white people on food stamps than black people, by a large margin. There are more white people on welfare than black people by a large margin, which is not to suggest that black people are not on average poorer than white people, because they are. But we're going to be in a much better position to do justice when we stop focusing so much on the perversion that's known as social justice. Social justice stands in direct contravention and opposition to justice. Justice is about you take action, you get what you deserve. Social justice is about you take action, and we may or may not give you what you deserve based on what we think your social group deserves. And that's evil. That really is. I mean, the idea that we're going to not judge the individual, we're instead going to judge what is most apropos for society based on the group to which you belong, and in some cases to which we arbitrarily place you, that's actually